With unrivaled performance and breakthrough equine technology, Exhibitor's color-enhancing system is pH-balanced, contains no harsh chemicals, bleaches, or dyes, and intensifies your horse's natural coat color, contrast, and shine. Champion dressage trainer and international Grand Prix rider Kim Gentry says, "The quick shampoo and quick conditioner are really amazing. The formula is very low sudsing, and with very little effort, it pulled the dirt and grime off the horse's coats without having to do a lot of scrubbing. The thing I'm really impressed with is how soft it leaves the horse's mane and tail. For professional show ring results, Exhibitor's formulas clean and maintain the magnificence of your show horse. For more, visit exhibitorsequine.com.
Today, we will be chatting with Christine Olsen, who will share her journey with blind horses. Her article, An Eye-Opening Experience, is in the November-December issue of Horse Illustrated. We'll also discuss winter riding and horse care for people in cold and more mild climates. And then we'll hear all about Fabio, an adorable pony gelding with luscious locks like his namesake, from the West Virginia Horse Network. Hey, Holly, it's so fun to record this second podcast with you. How are you doing?
Good. It's so fun to be back on the podcast and, just been doing my thing, getting my trail rides in before the rain hits here in California. And, it's just been so much fun getting back in the saddle after having a baby myself a couple years ago. Our co-host Raquel is enjoying her newborn, and I've been following their little pictures on Instagram, and she is just darling. It looks like Raquel's getting back on the horse too, so that's good to see.
Yeah, she is. So it's super fun talking with you and catching up, but it will also be really neat to, in January, have Raquel back on the show and hear more about little London Lynn and motherhood.
Yeah, so what have you been up to lately?
Well, okay. I have a funny story. This isn't really what I've been up to. Well, right now I'm reading the book Lexington by Kim Wickens, which is about, that racehorse. His skeleton is on display at the International Museum of the Horse in Kentucky. But it kind of goes along with our podcast because Lexington struggled with his sight. And so I think I'm on like chapter 7 right now, but it's talking about how he was losing his sight in one eye and he continued to race. And so we'll have to see what happens. But I have a hilarious Fabio story. Would you like to hear it?
I mean, we pretty much have to because our horse of the month is Fabio. So let's hear it.
I totally forgot about this until I was just reading the notes for this show. And it was like, oh my gosh, Fabio. Okay. So I'm not a Fabio fan. I mean, I'm not a hater. I just, he's not my kind of guy. But back when I lived in Los Angeles, so this is, early 2000s now, I was in Studio City with a friend having dinner. And we were sitting there, and this man walked by with long, flowing, beautiful blonde tresses. And he had piercing blue eyes. Like, I could see this from across the room. And he was, I mean, he literally looked like a Greek god or something. Like, he was otherworldly, which is what drew my attention. Because, I'm not really into guys with long hair. It's just not a look that would draw me in. But I was trying not to do a total double take. So I remember I had a pen, I got it out, and I wrote on the napkin to my friend, "Try not to be obvious, but turn around. I think Fabio is behind you." So
the note.
So she read it, and then we were like, trying not to smirk and act all weird, which, of course we were acting weird. But so then she got up to use the restroom. She didn't have to, but it was because she was on a mission to walk past the table to see if in fact it was Fabio.
Covert move. I like
left.
it.
Yeah, she left, came back, sat down with this huge smile and looked at me and was kind of nodding like, yeah, it's him. Okay, so then here's the crazy part, Holly. When he left, he walked out with two like senior citizen, a man and a woman. I'm guessing it might have been his parents.
Yeah.
They looked completely normal, like not to stereotype people, but they looked, I'm from the Midwest, so like I said, they just looked like some nice Midwestern couple in their 70s. Just, not
parents, and here comes this man that looks nothing like them. And
I have no idea. I mean, maybe they were friends, but I don't, I mean, there wasn't really a strong family resemblance that I could see, but he really, like, he had to have had colored contacts because those eyes from across the room, I could see how blue they were. So I just think that's hilarious that I saw Fabio.
Well, it's so funny because, like you think of Fabio, you think of romance novel. And that just reminded me, the book I'm currently reading is called Where the Bluegrass Grows, because you recommended it on your website.
Oh, yes.
And it is a romance where everything is set in Lexington, Kentucky. Well, I haven't gotten to the end yet, but it's like a horse vet from Root and Riddle, this guy. But it just reminded me that like today's romance novels would never have a Fabio cover. Like they all are like much more clean cut looking. But it's just funny that like back in the day, that was like what you associated with. Like he had to have the shirt and the like hair, the whole thing. So.
Okay, so once in a while, truth be told, because I mean, I'm not obsessed with Fabio, but I find him fascinating. I will on my phone look up like, is it GIFs or GIFs of Fabio? And they're hilarious.
I think you need to send them to me because I will now laugh at them too. So I'll appreciate it.
Well, thank you for looking on my blog and going with some of my book recommendations. That makes me feel.
I read a lot, so I was like, oh, this sounds interesting because I've lived in Lexington so long, and it just reminded me of every single horse girl's dream of, finding a young, eligible veterinarian that can take free care of their horse for them. But,
or farrier.
Also a good guy. Or farrier. Yes, that would be good too. But
oh my gosh. Okay. So what else? Anything else going on out there in California?
Not too much. It's been pretty nice out here, and I hate to even talk about the weather because it makes people mad. Like when I was in Kentucky and it was so cold, and I'm from California, so I would see like people posting about how it was 80 degrees in January or December, and it would make me very angry. But now I'm that person, so I hate to like rub it in, but it's been pretty nice. What are you dealing with there in Illinois?
Well, I have to tell you. So, I mean, my background and some of the listeners might, but I'm originally from the Midwest. And then I spent about 25 years in Southern California, which, has the weather tax, as my pastor used to say, because the weather is pretty much perfect and you pay for it because everything's so expensive.
That's exactly what I say. I say it's a no refund day if it's like 75 and sunny, but if it's pouring rain and 50 degrees, I want my refund.
Oh gosh. But anyway, since Knight and I have been back in the Midwest for a couple of years now, there have been some new developments in winter horse care and riding. Yeah. So most notably, the heated vest.
Ooh.
I mean, why didn't we think of this earlier?
I needed that during my winters. Oh my goodness.
I mean, you could still use it in California because it gets cold. I mean, not cold like Chicago cold, but so I have this, and I have a blog post if people want to look at saddle6horse.com and type in heated vest. But I wear the Aurora heated vest. And what I love about it, it's hard to say, but I use it to warm up Knight's bit. So I probably look completely crazy, which I'm already committed to horse girl crazy. But what I'll do is I'll take the blanket off. I bring him from the field, take the blanket off, grooming, and I have the bit, like I unzip the vest, shove the whole bridle in my vest, zip it back up. It actually makes me look a little bustier. So, hey, that's not bad. But so, I do that. And thankfully also the barn where I board does have a heater. So it's a heated barn with a heated indoor, and that really does help a lot.
Yes. Yeah. When I was in Kentucky, I spent most of my winters with no indoor, and basically it was pitch black by the time you get out of work. So you're basically seeing your horse on the weekend, and that was kind of sad. And then my trainer did build an indoor, so we could have lights, and it was amazing. I never knew what I was missing until those last few winters when you could actually get on and ride after work. And I hate when it gets dark early. Even here with the decent weather, it's like if I don't leave by 3:00, I can't get my ride in now. And it's hard to work your time schedule around that when you have a job. So yeah, I'm not a fan of winter. You call me a summer girl, I'd rather be sweaty. But yeah, out here, I just remember the funniest thing was, we'd moved out here in June, me and my horse Artie, and the previous winter was the coldest one ever. It was like way below zero, and he just had like his blanket. He was always pasture boarded, never could come in a stall because I didn't have one. So he just had to be out there with his natural coat and his blanket. And so I always felt bad, like, oh, he's probably so cold, but he looked fine and he was used to it. We get out to Southern California, and I'm at the boarding barn, and, I just give him a little trace clip so he wouldn't be too hot. And I never blanketed him ever in Southern California. And you get kind of that first November, December night of 55 degrees, all the blankets come out. Every horse in the row. They are not body clipped. These are fat quarter horses. Most of my barn was Western and or warm bloods, big chunky horses with no body clip. All the blankets go on. And I'm like, are these horses not just like swimming in sweat? It's like we feel cold as Southern Californians in, sub 60 degree weather, but I don't think horses do. So yikes, I was just shocked. And people would be going around like, oh, you feel winter? It's here. And I was like, what are these people talking about? You can't even apply the word cold. And now I'm such a wimp. It's been a few years, and I just shiver when it gets down in the 60s, and it's terrible and very pathetic. And I've lost all my cold tolerance. But I still say my horse did not need a blanket in that weather because he had an overhang if it rained. And I don't know. But you need to tell us your secrets for the snow and the ice, because that was the hardest thing for me.
Okay. I don't know if I have secrets, but so it did snow here last week, which is kind of early, and it melted a little bit. And so there were some icy patches on the driveway at the barn. So when I would bring Knight in from the field, I just skirted around I took the long route. But there was a place where he did have to walk, and we just went slow and easy. So I'm not riding in ice or anything, but he will probably next time the farrier comes out get snow pads. Have you seen those? I was not familiar with those.
Yeah, I actually did those one year because I was a big fan of pulling my horse's shoes for the winter, because I always had horses with good feet, and that way they don't get those ice high heels in their horseshoes. But my one horse that didn't have great feet, I wanted to keep him in at least fronts. And so the farrier gave me like those snow rim. It's not the whole foot. It's just around the rim. There's like a little bubble, and it just keeps the snow popped out. It worked great. So I could keep riding and not get the problems when we crossed all the snow under saddle.
Yeah, that's cool. The other thing that, it's not a secret I have, but I had never seen this where I had boarded before, and I think it's really kind of genius. So the farm owner has this color-coded system for blankets. So the lightweight is a certain color, and I don't remember what the colors are right now. Medium is a certain color, and then the heavyweight is a certain color. So
do you mean you had to buy the blankets that color, or there was like a tag?
Oh, no, sorry. No, the blanket could be any color. So Knight's lightweight is a Baker, which obviously is multiple colors because it's that pretty plaid. But it's like a little tag. I don't know how to describe it. It's a plastic tag that we secure with a zip tie and then write the horse's name on it. So that way it just makes it easier for the stable hands that are doing the turnouts to be able to, get the right. Yeah. Okay. So purple is lightweight. Green is medium, and then blue is heavy. And there's a laminated card that is on each horse stall. in addition to like their regular, care card.
Oh, that's cool. And
Yeah.
so I've never really boarded anywhere where they mess with the blankets for you. I always was like a pasture person, and I would like come and take it on and off. And but I don't know. I was just a rain sheet and a midweight kind of girl in Kentucky that would cover most of your issues. And then I wouldn't body clip till spring, right before we would go start our training. So I don't know. I'm just like, this whole idea that someone will come and like change the blanket for the weather. That sounds really nice. I like it.
It is a luxury. No. Well, Knight's not clipped. So he's, yeah, I don't know. And there's a whole, it's a very well-developed plan based on the temperature and that.
Yeah.
So I think it's when it's lower than 40 degrees is when they start with the lightweights. And
yeah, I mean, I always had, like I said, pasture horses that weren't clipped till the spring. And I'll be honest with you, I was blanketing for keeping the dirt off, because if you're pasture in Kentucky, it's going to get disgusting and muddy, and you'll never be able to ride because you'll spend hours just getting dust out of the deep coat and mud off the top, and you basically would never be able to ride. So yeah, I'm a big fan of throwing that sheet on or a lightweight blanket just so that you can have a pretty clean horse to ride if you want to ride in the winter. And if you don't, it's honestly really nice to take a break if you ride a lot the rest of the year. So it kind of makes you take a break. Whereas in California, you've got a 12 by 24 stall if you're lucky, and you can't give your horse time off because he does not turnout. He doesn't get any pasture, no turnout. So you basically are more of in a year-round grind trying to get the horse out of the stall. Just to, even if you're not doing much, just lunging or turning them out in the arena, which Southern California people know all about that, but very different life. We don't have like kind of the up and down season cycles as much. So, it's good and bad. We have our good weather, but
that's true.
That in other ways. But yeah, anyway, any other thoughts on winter before we move on to our first guest?
Well, I just, I was thinking back to, you mentioned this is our 14th episode. Our very first episode, we had Shelley Paulson, the photographer, on, and she lives up in Minnesota, which is even colder than where I am.
Yes.
And I remember from that first episode, she said she has a winter riding skirt.
Oh, I've heard of those. They sound like a good idea. Like they'd be really nice and warm.
Plus, they look cool for photos. I don't have one. I mean, because I've got the heated, but I'm really curious about that. And yeah, so that's all I got.
Well, good. Well, let's jump into our next guest. Our first guest today is Christine Olsen. She's an equitation coach and equine sports massage therapist from Illinois, who believes in helping horses and riders form confident, trusting relationships. She found herself the owner of 2 blind horses that needed a little extra care, which began her journey advocating for blind horses. She's also the author of The 5 Senses of Horsemanship, a book that explores sensory perception for both horse and rider.
Well, hey, Christine, we are really happy to have you here on the Barn Banter podcast. And this is really fun for me because, Holly, Christine is someone that I actually know in real life. We have met through a mutual thoroughbred friend, and Christine has just a great background with different disciplines and training horses. And we're going to talk with her today about a special blind horse that's in her life. So, hey, Christine.
Hi, thank you for having me on today.
Well, and Christine, I sort of know just, I guess, virtually through her sending in an article idea and Susan putting us in touch. And that article ran in the November-December issue of Horse Illustrated, which we are going to link in the show notes for people who want to read that. But yeah, so she had a very interesting story that caught my attention. But before we get into all of that, I just wanted our listeners to know where you're from, where you grew up, how you got into horses, how you became, I'm assuming, a crazy horse girl like us. So yeah, just let our listeners know.
Absolutely. I'm from Northern Illinois, small suburb right next to the Wisconsin border called Johnsburg. Not a lot of people know it, so I usually just say from Chicago, but I am definitely not a city girl at all. The horse bug hit me when I saw a Sports Center episode, if you remember Sports Center from ESPN. It was an episode about Secretariat. And I thought, I'm going to ride a horse like that. And ever since, I was just horse crazy. I remember my first magazine was Young Rider, and I put posters on my wall, and it was all horse, horse, horse from there. Nothing else.
You must be younger than me because we didn't have Young Rider when I was a kid. I had Horse Illustrated posters, but yeah, Young Rider is our other magazine that I'm now the editor of. So that makes me super happy to hear that.
All right, but we got to dig into this a little bit. So obviously you didn't ride the Secretariat, but maybe you can tell us what you did that was maybe similar to that, or the less dangerous and intense version.
Well, I did ride race horses for about 10 years. Was colt breaking and galloping on the track, and that was dangerous, but it was fun. I loved every minute of it. But I also, I did the show hunters, I did dressage, I did polo, which was great fun. Would love to do that again at some point. Just kind of had my hat and everything horse.
That's cool. And so I also just kind of was doing a little background on you, are like a professional horse trainer now, or have trained in the past, or what did your career with horses look like?
Yeah, I was doing horses full time. I did break my neck in 2011, and that kind of slowed down my riding career. It took quite a while to heal from that, but I was still riding and training. But then I shifted more to a riding instructor coach because, the riding had to take a back seat. And I actually fell in love with coaching. I didn't think I would because it was all, ride, all you can. But I loved coaching, and that's when I took more of an interest in instruction.
All right, now I gotta ask, you need to introduce us to your mare, Red. I follow you on Instagram and obviously in real life.
Yeah.
I haven't met Red yet, but she's a very special girl, and we want to hear how you guys came to be a team and the nature of your relationship.
Absolutely. And yes, you do need to come and see Red. So Red is the second horse that I bred from my first mare that I had, Sanibel. And this was a horse that technically my father had bred because he bred Sanibel for racehorses. And Red was a horse that from day one, very prim and proper, she was just a superstar. And when it was time to have her start training, she was broke day one. I have little nicknames for all my horses, and her nickname is the good horse. I can't recall a day she ever turned an ear at anything or did anything wrong. She's always been a superstar. And when her career was done at the track, I knew she was going to be my next little, jumper or whatever she wanted to be. She was going to just be my next little buddy. And she sure is.
And today, Red has, I guess, would you call it a disability or a other ability with being blind? So we would love to kind of hear that story.
Yes. So that was definitely an adventure. Sanibel was the first one to go blind. And shortly after that, Red also started going blind. And wow, what an experience that was. I think I was very fortunate having these horses for so many years before that happened because of the experience I had with them and the relationship, especially with Red, having her since birth. We really had that It was just one day at a time. Definitely some scary moments here and there. A lot of questioning moments throughout the years, like, really, am I doing this? But every time I go back out to the barn, I'm reminded, yeah, they're good horses. And I've never had a day where I felt they couldn't do it. It was more of a feeling I couldn't do it. They were always fine. And that always gave me, that courage. Okay, if they can do it, I can do it. And it's been a great experience.
Covered it a little bit in the article, but for those who didn't see that, did you learn the cause of the blindness? Did either one of them have eyes removed? Like, I have a friend with 2 horses that have one eye between the 2 of them left, and they had recurrent uveitis. So I don't know if it was similar to that. Can you just go over like the timeline of each horse and what the vet thought it would be, what was causing it?
Yeah. So in more detail, when Sanibel went blind, it was actually when I went to pick her up from the breeding farm after she had her last horse. It was time to pick her up. And when I went there, she had some cloudiness in her eye. And it's, I'll get her on the trailer, take her home, and have the vet look at her. I was a bit disappointed. Nothing was done about it. But these big thoroughbred breeding farms, the mares are pretty much just fed, and, you come and pick them up when you get them. And that's how it is. So I brought her home and just had a quick checkup on her. And, maybe there was an injury and it just didn't heal great. And I accepted that as an answer, thinking it was just going to be the one eye. So I kept riding her as normal, and, we were jumping, we did cross country. She wasn't affected at all. So I didn't think much about it until the other eye started to become a little cloudy. And, that's when I panicked quite a bit. And that's when I wrote in the article, I was really struggling to find a home for her. But I never really had her tested for anything or thought to diagnose it. I thought, my priority was just having her safe. I didn't think about getting a diagnosis. I just accepted, okay, she's blind. Now, when Red started having an eye issue, I was on top of it that day, and I was researching everything. And I actually remembered something I learned about in college about the leptospirosis. And I said, I want this test done. And the vet actually said, okay, if you want. And I got the call back. Well, hey, guess what? You were right. So I don't know if they were both exposed to it at one point, maybe at the breeding farm, or I'm not sure. But I'm assuming that's what happened to the first one as well.
And just a quick question. What was the timeline between, finding out that Sanibel was blind and then Red? Was that like right on the heels of each other, or was it years?
It was about a year. I don't remember if it was like 11 months or 10 months, or I don't quite remember the exact date, but it was about a year apart because it was both winter time. That I remember because eye drops in the cold weather. I remember that.
And from what I read, leptospirosis comes through water or something. It's like bacterial through the water.
Yeah, it's bacteria. It's something that got contaminated through like a rodent or something.
So there's no way to really even be able to prevent it if something like that happens. So that's just
right.
Wild that the both of them went through the same experience. That's just
yeah.
Christine, what had to change in your mindset or just day-to-day care? I know you mentioned the eye drops, but in light of the condition of having blind horses, and maybe before you answer that, I was just kind of thinking, it triggered when you were saying that you were jumping Sanibel, I think it was, still, and did cross country when she still had sight in her one eye. I did a girls' fox hunting weekend in Middleburg a few years ago, and one of the hirelings I rode only could see in one eye. and he was incredible. I mean, I rode several horses that weekend. He was by far my favorite. And I remember it was really interesting because I would see him kind of turn his head to listen to like, I felt that he was just really taking in all of his surroundings. I didn't feel like it was any kind of impairment really, other than it, didn't look as pretty as a seeing eye. So tell us a little bit just about your mindset and the care.
Yeah. So once again, trying to find a place for them. I had to start looking at the environment, kind of, make sure it was safe, because with them not seeing, I didn't want there to be any obstructions in their way, anything they could get hurt on. So it was really looking through a lens of like what they're experiencing. Usually when I go to a barn, I'm looking at my amenities, like the riding arena, like, my experience at the barn. And there's always some attention to what your horse is experiencing. But when you blindfold yourself and you think, what is my horse going to feel here? It's very different. And even things like feed buckets in the corner and how often they bang their head on it, or, just how some buckets are made, how they can easily, slice their head on it. Numerous injuries on their face, just little cuts from things that are placed, like the eye hooks. Those have caused many injuries. And you don't think about those things very much until they become very problematic.
And so you said in the article that you did find a barn that you finally, like, people were telling you, oh, don't even try, just put your horses down. So can you tell us the situation that you found that you were happy with?
Yes, I found it was actually a retirement barn, but they had a 8-acre pasture with an attached lean-to, but the lean-to was like 36 by 28 feet. It was like a big open space, but the pasture was a giant rectangle and it was flat. It was perfect. And they were in with a couple other horses, nice, small, older group that never picked on them. It was just a perfect, safe sanctuary for them, pretty much isolated from horses coming in and out. So they never had to worry about another horse coming in. It was just like the ideal situation for horses like them.
So Christine, I'm sure that there are a number of people who encounter the same situation with their horse. Maybe they're blind in one eye or they're losing their sight. Where can people go to get support, to get educated, and just, just find a way to move forward with their horses?
I know a very good Facebook group called Friends of Blind Horses. It is a tremendous group for people that own blind horses, rescue blind horses, or maybe just have questions about the care. It's a very friendly group. I definitely suggest checking into that. Also, there are so many accounts on Instagram. I know you said you follow mine. We know each other. But there's so many, even globally. I actually follow most blind horse accounts that I follow are from Europe. It's definitely more open, I think, out there. And it's starting to be more common in the States. But there are a lot of blind horse advocates over there and a lot of great accounts with information.
And maybe we can list a few, including yours, obviously, in the show notes.
Yeah.
And so, Christine, I saw you had written a book, and was it your experience with the blind horses that inspired you to write it? Could you tell us a little bit about your book?
Absolutely. I had a chance to sit down and write about all this experience I had owning blind horses. I called it the 5 Senses of Horsemanship. And I really dove more into my experience about sensory perception. So how my experience kind of changed how I saw horsemanship. It's not a how-to guide about blind horses, more just about the sensory perception and how the little tips and tricks that I learned with my experience along the way.
And Christine, for those of us who don't have blind horses, how can we be advocates for horses like Red and for owners like you?
I think just being supportive. So whether you own a horse or maybe someone that you board with, just being supportive, especially during tough times. I know a lot of rescues have blind horses, so, maybe volunteering.
Christine, where can people connect with you and learn more about Red and maybe get some support and inspiration?
I am pretty active on Instagram. My handle is Christine_EQ Red.
And we'll have that in the show notes. Thank you for joining us today, and happy holidays to you and Red.
Thank you for having me on, and happy holidays.
It's not easy being a cowgirl, but a little magic helps. No matter if she's a horse trainer, photographer, mother, executive, or athlete, Cowgirl Magic Hand Cream is here to add a hint of the luxurious life to any active, hardworking lifestyle. The new Cowgirl Magic Ultra Hydrating Cream is rejuvenating and clean, complemented by a light, soothing fragrance. Formulated with a blend of coconut, apricot, avocado, sesame, and olive oil, this age-defying formula works hard to deeply hydrate, restore, and fight the appearance of wrinkles as it absorbs quickly, with no residue or greasy feel. Learn more at cowboymagic.com.
Banter with us. We want to hear from you. Share your topic ideas with us. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram at Saddle Seeks Horse, and Raquel at Horses and Heels with the little underscore. Don't be shy. Show us some barn banter love by leaving a review, and you can tell all your friends too.
This month's ASPCA Right Horse Adoptable Horse of the Month is Fabio. He's an adorable pony gelding. He has beautiful hair, just like his namesake. And he is at the West Virginia Horse Network. So today we are going to chat with their director, Nikki Walters, to learn more about Fabio. Thanks for joining us, Nikki.
Thank you so much for having me on. I love to talk about our adoptable horses, so anytime.
Nikki, we would love to hear who you think would be a good fit for Fabio and his wonderful hair.
So it's going to need to be someone who likes a pony type of personality. So he's a little complicated in that he can be different from one experience to the next experience. So in other words, he's going to do best with somebody who understands kind of a pony demeanor and is willing to work with that and see the humor in it, see the humor in the new challenge that you're going to face from time to time.
And following up with that thought a little bit, can you tell us about his clingy personality? What do you mean by that?
Sure. So he really enjoys the company of people. He's kind of like the life of the party kind of guy. So I just received a video from his foster family of him like levitating in the pasture, playing with his friends. But then also when he sees his foster at the fence, he's the first one up there to you and will even pass up grass to hang out with a person. So he really enjoys the comfort of having his person around, but also could put on a great show and has the confidence to go out and have a good time with his buddies.
And do you know anything?
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to paint a little picture of him in case other people haven't seen his link yet, which we'll put in the show notes. But he's chestnut and 13-3 hands, I believe it said, and 20 years old. So does he seem to have any saddle training, or have you guys ridden him?
So he is what we would consider green broke in terms of riding independently. He does prefer an English saddle. We've had a Western saddle on him and he was not a fan of that. So he prefers to ride in an English saddle. He actually participated in a clinic that we had back in October. And that was his first experience of us hauling him away from his foster to an event. And she was able to ride him for a good bit of the clinic. But once he kind of reached his capacity of learning new things, she just went ahead and got down and put him away, just because it's new to him to be doing that much stuff. But the second day of that weekend, he participated in a parade that we had of our adoptable horses, and he did fine with that, did fine with the chaos around the event. So he's kind of a work in progress. And, he was perfectly willing to accept a rider, but he doesn't know the bells and whistles. So he's going to need to be finished out by whoever adopts him if they want to ride him. And they should be prepared to ride English, because he doesn't seem interested in learning anything about Western saddles.
And Nikki, do you know anything about his previous life?
So I only know, at the age of 20, it's hard to know what happened in his life before he ended up at the rescue that we got him from. But he had been adopted through another rescue and had been mistreated by some people that were renting the property. And so they had surveillance video of the person renting that property throwing round pin panels at him in a trapped environment, and just being overall cruel to him. And so because the owner, the adopter didn't have the resources to move him from that place, she needed to find a new placement for him outside of the area. And so that's how we ended up with him. So he was loved in his adoptive home, but when that tenant took over the property and started abusing him, he had some trauma. And so, he had that can of worms with him when he came to us. So we've been really working through him being a little head shy, working through, all of those things, letting him know that he's in a safe, secure environment and that it's okay now.
And where can people learn more about Fabio and apply to adopt?
So my right horse profile is really the best place to go. I'm getting ready to update his photos. He had a Christmas photo shoot just yesterday. So I'm getting ready to update his photos and put some new things up about that, and also some images from his participation in the clinic. That way people can see all of those things. And what we typically do from there is, once someone sends in an adoption inquiry through my right horse, is we'll have his foster, who knows him best, give them a call and let them talk through and make sure that it's a great match. And then from there, then we just get the adoption process rolling, and our adoption process is super easy.
Well, we're going to pull for Fabio, and hopefully he will find his right person for Christmas.
I hope so too. He's such a cutie. Like if once somebody looks at his photos, they will fall even more in love, because he's just something. He's got a thick neck, thick shoulders. He can really handle, more of a rider than you would think a horse that's 13.3 could take. He's a thick guy. We don't quite know what breed. And if you look at his side profile, I wouldn't even begin to guess what breeds came together to make him. But he's a sturdy feller, so he could be a good option for about anyone.
That's awesome. Yeah. Hopefully we'll help you get some nice interest in him, and he'll find his home for the holidays even. That would be wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us, Nikki. It's great talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Horse Illustrated can be found at horseillustrated.com. For special discounts on Horse Illustrated and Young Rider, just for podcast listeners, visit horseillustrated.com/barn banter.
Thanks for listening to our show. See you next month.